Welcome back to another SMITE video, and in this one we're going to be taking a look at two different patch notes. The first one is the 8.3 bonus update notes, which will go live on April 6th, and before we start this video I will link both of them in the description if you want to check them out and read them in full yourself. So for the first update we have 3 new skins. These first 2 will be available in the Talons of Tyranny event, and the last one is in the Queen Bee chest. So first up we have Prince of Lightning Zeus.
Great, another set of fools to destroy. So be it.
Next up is Rune Machina Ganesh.
It is I, the opener of ways.
And finally Queen Bee Nox.
Let us give them a little sting, darling.
So for the god balances, we don't have too many here, but first up is Giannis, his Threshold. The movement speed bonus you get when you go through portals and the threshold is now decreased. It used to scale from 10% to 30%, now scales from 10% to 20%. Tsukiyomi, his Dark Moon Shuriken, gets a decreased base damage on the projectiles. Used to be 85 to 285, is 75 to 275, so it looks like it gets 10 less at each rank. And finally, his Kusarigama gets a decreased base damage on the final hit. Used to be 60 to 280, is now 50 to 270, so again, looks like 10 less at each rank. Guan Yu's Conviction gets an increased cooldown from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. Same thing with his Warrior's Will, increased cooldown from 12 to 14 seconds. And then Aphrodite's Lovebirds, again, 12 second to 14 second increased cooldown. Apollo's Serenade gets reverted to its old ranks, I guess. Gets decreased physical protections. Used to be 15 to 35, is now 10 to 30, so 5 less at each rank. And the Mesmerized duration is also decreased. Used to be 1.5 seconds to 2.3 seconds, is 1.2 to flat 2 seconds, so about 0.3 seconds off of each rank. And then finally, Nemesis and her Retribution gets a decreased shield, used to be 100 to 500, is now 100 to 420. And then for the actual update coming in 8.4, which is the King of Uruk update notes, we have the new Babylonian god, Gilgamesh. So his passive is actually a pretty cool one called, I believe that's what it's called, Epic of Gilgamesh. He basically has 2 quests that you can complete. The first one once you hit level 5 and the second at level 10. Both of them are going to reward you a tier 1 item or 500 gold if your inventory is full, but of course you have to complete them to get those rewards. So at level 5, there's going to be a location that spawns on the map, and you have to go to that location, and once you do, you get the quest. Now, from the update show, it basically said it's going to spawn relative to where you were at once you hit level 5, but it will be on the enemy side of the map. So if you're playing in duo lane, it'll probably be somewhere towards maybe the purple buff in the enemy side, or if you're in solo lane, maybe towards their speed on the enemy side. But once you go to it, you complete the quest. Level 10, you have to wipe out half of the enemy in a team fight, essentially. So if it's a 5v5 team fight and your side kills 3 of them, whether you get the kill or you get the assist, that's going to complete the quest, giving you that tier 1 item or 500 gold if your inventory is full. And for his very first ability, it's called Sunforged Scimitar. This is a stim and has a 20 radius. Basically, you ignite your sword with the power of the sun for 4 seconds. Enemies that are around the ignition take damage and are slowed for 2.5 seconds. So the damage will be 60 to 205 plus 60% of your physical power, and the slow is going to be 15% all the way up to 25% at max rank. It's going to cost you 60 mana, of course, to cast and have a cooldown of 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, so it goes down each time you rank it up. But after the actual damage happens, you're going to get that stim on your weapon. So each time you attack an enemy, you deal bonus damage equal to 3.5% of his maximum health to enemies. Now that's your maximum health, so the more health you have, the more damage you do. Whenever you successfully hit an enemy with the basic attack, however, the duration of the effect is extended for 0.8 seconds, and you can have a maximum of 12 seconds for your stim. So it really only lasts for 4 seconds, but you can rank it up all the way to 12 if you keep hitting enemies. Now for his second ability, this one's actually really cool. It's called Drop Kick. It has a range of 25 and is a line ability, and there's a lot to this, so we're going to kind of break it down. You drop kick an area in front of him, enemies in the area are damaged, while the closest enemy is launched through other enemies. The launched enemy takes bonus damage when hitting a minion, or takes burst damage and are stunned if they hit a god or a wall. So basically the kick damage is going to be 70 to 190 plus 50% of your physical power. The bonus damage if it goes through minions, so if it goes through, I guess each minion will deal 25 to 85 damage plus 25% of your physical power. Now, if you hit an enemy god or the wall, that burst damage will do 70 to 250 damage plus 65% of your power. And of course, they'll be stunned anywhere from 1.1 second to 1.5 seconds. This costs 60 to 80 mana and has a 14-second cooldown flat. Now, minions that are hit also take that bonus damage, and other gods that are hit by the god that is launched take burst damage and stun. So basically, the enemy that you hit gets kick damage. The enemy minions he goes through takes bonus damage, as well as the enemy god. If he hits an enemy god, they both take burst damage and they both get stunned. And if he hits the wall, he's the only one that takes burst damage and gets stunned. I know that was kind of confusing, but I hope I explained it well enough for you. It also says here that if the launched enemy hits the winds of Shemesh, they are thrown towards the center of the ring, but that has to coincide with his ultimate, so we'll get into that a little bit later. Now for his third and final ability other than his ultimate, it's called Hero's Advance, and this is his movement ability. It's a leap with a range of 50, and it has a pretty big area. Basically, you leap forward and crash down at the target, damaging enemies around you. The damage is going to be 80 to 240 plus 65% of your physical power. Now, whenever you land, you infuse the ground with energy, and you cause this giant beacon to appear for 5 seconds, so your allies will see that beacon, which will be in the center of that little area that you created. Whenever allies run towards the beacon, or if you do yourself, they gain movement speed. So they actually gain movement speed as they're running towards the beacon. However, once they get inside the beacon, that movement speed is halved. So the movement speed is 20 to 35%, and it's going to be half once you're inside the beacon. However, once you are in the beacon, you also gain bonus lifesteal boosted by 15% of Gilgamesh's highest protection. So you get 10% lifesteal plus 15% of his highest protection. This is going to cost 70 mana and has a 15-second cooldown. So you can see here the theme is building health and protections with this god to get the most out of his abilities. And finally, his ultimate is called Winds of Shemesh. This is a ground target that you cast, has a range of 35, and it's a pretty big area. So you call upon Shemesh to create a ring of wind at the target location that lasts for 6 seconds. Enemies inside this ring when it starts take damage and are slowed for 2 seconds. Enemies inside the ring take wind damage every 0.5 seconds. If an enemy tries to escape the ring, they are heavily slowed, and I mean heavily slowed. If Gilgamesh damages an enemy that's trying to flee, they are thrown back towards the center of the ring, so that means they have to leave, try to leave again, but if Gilgamesh hits them, they're sent right back. The wind turns into thread over 6 seconds, damaging, rooting, and crippling enemies who are still inside the ring. So if he lasts for that whole duration, you're kind of screwed. So the initial damage of the ability is going to be 90 to 330 plus 50% of your physical power. The initial slow will be anywhere from 20 to 30%. The wind damage that you takes every couple seconds or every 0.5 seconds is going to be anywhere from 12 to 28 damage plus 5% of your physical power. Now, the wind wall slow, so that's once you try to run out of the ultimate and you get slowed by that outer ring of wind, that's going to be anywhere from 50 to 70%. So the initial slow isn't that bad, it's whenever you're trying to leave, you get heavily slowed, and if Gilgamesh hits you, you go right back to the center and you gotta try to leave again. And then the blinding damage is going to be anywhere from 150 to 450 plus 60% of your physical power. This is going to cost anywhere from 80 to 100 mana and has a flat 90-second cooldown. And the reason I said this combines with his drop kick is basically, let's say you spawn the ultimate on an enemy and they're in the center of the ring, you can drop kick them into the outer ring, and that's going to send them right back to the center. So you can really combine the two. Technically, you could really combine all 4 of his abilities into one giant combo to really burst somebody. So that is it for the new god. Next up, we're going to have the new god skins coming, and of course, Gilgamesh has to have some, so his standard recolor is Crimson King.
A fresh land ready for a strong adventurer. I wonder what I shall find here.
Then for the Season Pass 2021 recolor, we have Ascended Gilgamesh.
A fresh land ready for a strong adventurer. I wonder what I shall find here.
And then, of course, we have the Gilgamesh Masteries here. I'm assuming that's just going to be the same voice. First up, for the Talons of Tyranny event, we're going to have 3 skins here in this event. Well, actually 4 skins. First one is Chilling Hesir? I apologize, I don't know how to say that. Chilling Hesir Ares.
I awaken from my rest one last time.
And then next up is Headless Horror Chiron. This, I actually really like this.
The hunt has been called, and her victims shall now answer.
And then Lady of the Sea Discordia.
Let's just float along today and see where the waves bring us.
And then finally for this event, we have the Tormented Soul Medusa skin, which is, of course, the unlimited one.
You think you know pain? I'll show you pain. And you have so much to learn.
I'm really curious to see this in game because just from this player card, you can't really tell that it's Medusa, and I actually really like that. So we also have 2 skins coming to the Groovy chest here, which I have to get to pair with that Bacchus skin. We have Fun Guy Merlin.
All right, everybody, only good vibes here.
And then Peace Out Artemis.
Let's go on a nature walk. We really need to take in the beauty that's around us. You feel me?
Alright, so of course, like I said before, the bonus update will go live on April 6th, and this update will go live on April 20th. And then the 8.4 bonus, which will come at a later time, will be on May 4th. So for the quality of life updates. First thing we have is a new Slash game mode. The map is planned to launch in the 4th quarter of this year. The new map is being designed to feel like both the Siege rework and the Clash rework, but at the same time. We are aiming to create a mode that both Siege mains and Clash mains will enjoy playing, and I'm very excited for that, because those are probably 2 of my favorite game modes. When looking at the problems with Siege, the team noticed that many aspects of Clash could be applied to help improve it. Clash had similar issues to be solved using Siege mechanics. The 2 maps occupy a similar gameplay space in SMITE, higher combat, lower strategy, both with real lanes, towers, and jungle objectives. These design conclusions are what compelled us to merge them into one map. As the merging of the best parts of each map is the primary goal, the name Slash will be sticking. It will feature both Maya and Egyptian environments, each tied to their respective bases. The mode will be 5v5, using slightly more Siege mechanics than Clash mechanics, obviously because there's more objective-based stuff in Siege, I'm assuming. SMITE is a better balanced, a better social experience, and has a higher player metrics on 5v5 modes, so no more 4v4. Free rewards, the system is fully enabled on PC and Xbox. PS4 just recently released, however PS5 is still in development. Nintendo Switch cannot support video streaming in-game and will never have access to these awards. Video opportunities are decided by a separate company from Hi-Rez. There's a heavy amount of experimentation on how many total videos and how often video opportunities occur, so the system will feel mostly random to most players. It also can vary heavily by region. System will continue to feel random, so just keep an eye out for the button on the home screen to access them when available, or ignore them if you're not interested. So for the chest screen, the selection of the store where players can buy and roll chest has been updated. Baba Yaga, applying a set of changes to improve the feel of playing Baba Yaga. So we have some issue fixes here. I'm not going to go over them specifically. If you want to pause that and read that, you're more than welcome to. And of course, this will be linked to the description. The Babylonian Pantheon music theme that plays throughout the main menus has been adjusted to better fit the tone of Gilgamesh and to better fit the main menus. We also have the login queue will show to all players all the time, part of our server performance. I'm not going to go over that. We also have bug fixes here that, again, I'm not going to go over. I will kind of scroll through this slowly if you want to pause it, but like I said, it will be in the description. Game modes. We have a live conquest update called the Rising Storm. Gilgamesh arrives to challenge Tiamat in an act of aggression many gods disagree with. The skybox and lighting of the Conquest map has changed to a dark and stormy style to display this development in the SMITE universe. Additionally, a new gameplay mechanic is being introduced called Vine Walls. They spawn in specific symmetrical places around the jungle, and they function like player-made walls. You cannot walk through them. They can be destroyed by basic attack only, and they have a number of hits, not total damage, so attack speed is going to be key to getting them down. Walls respawn when the adjacent jungle camp respawns, even if killed only seconds before. All vine walls despawn at 15 minutes. So that's interesting. And okay, so you can see here what an example of that would look like. And then of course this is what the new aura of the map will look like. Also, to use this in-game queue image, looking at Tiamat's castle, plus include skybox. Okay, so that's nothing very important there. We have additional conquest balance and features. The invisible foliage tech. When gods use an aerial ultimate, the leaves of the trees within their ability range will become invisible temporarily. This effect will only trigger when gods rise above a certain height. So any god, I watched this in the update show, any god that basically grows in height when they cast their ultimate, you're going to be able to see the map clearer. The trees won't be in your way. So for example, Thor. Thor goes all the way up in the sky, so any area where he can come down on, you'll basically be able to see. You can't move when you're in his ultimate, so it's a little different, but it'll be more clear and those trees won't be in your way, kind of giving you some more bonuses since you're able to grow at such a height. Tier 2 towers gets an increased base HP from 2500 to 2800. They also increase the base damage per shot from 260 to 290. The Greater Scorpion gets a decreased max health. He gets decreased protections, decreased scaling the max health, decreased scaling protections, and decreased magical protections. So getting a nerf there. The Manticore, the red buff, decreased the physical power scaling on it from 18 damage per hit to 15. And then added new rules linking Phoenix deaths to doors. Killing the left Phoenix removes the debuff area on the left door. Killing the right Phoenix removes the debuff area on the right door. And the middle Phoenix removes the debuff areas for both doors. So for item changes, Boomba's hammer no longer procs the immune jungle camps. Death's Toll no longer procs on immune jungle camps. Same thing with Death's Embrace. Ornate Arrow item now provides 10% attack speed and 5% critical strike chance. The passive decrease the maximum stack count from 25 to 20, increase the attack speed from 1% per stack to 1.25% per stack, basically 25% at max, and then increase the critical strike chance from 0.8% per stack to 1% per stack, or 20% at max stacks. Leader's Cowl now provides 15% attack speed and has a new passive. You provide 5 increased power to all nearby allied gods. It gives a bonus stack for each allied god within X units, causing it to provide an additional 3% increased power. For each enemy god within X units, a stack is removed. Sentinel's Embrace increased the passive aura range on it from 30 to 55 units, increased the physical and magical protections from 20 to 30, decreased the protection split among all nearby allies from 100 to 80, and then decreased the protections gained while alone from 50 to 40, so more of a balance there rather than a nerf or a buff. Compassion increased the passive aura range from 40 to 70 units, increased the magical protection from 40 to 60, and increased the HP 5 from 30 to 45. Sundering Axe gets a decreased bonus damage from 10% of the enemy's current health to 5%, plus 2% of your total protections from items. It also has a maximum bonus damage, the maximum bonus damage is 14% of the enemy's current health and requires 400 total protections to reach the cap. Bluestone Pendant gets an increased physical power from 10 to 15, and then Bluestone's Brooch gets an increased base damage of the passive from 25 to 75. The Alternate Timeline gets a decreased cooldown from 10 minutes to 6 minutes. Staff of Murden gets, this just fixes an issue where the item was not triggering at the same time after the ultimate ability fires as the other. Okay, so that's just an item fix. So for the god balances, Shield of Achilles gets a decreased cooldown from 15 seconds to 14 seconds, and then Fatal Strike gets decreased bonus damage taken from 10% to 5%. Bacchus, his Chug, the mana decreased cost on it is, decreased the mana cost on it from 40 to 20 at all ranks. Also decreased the cooldown from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, and fixed the protection description to clarify the ability provides 0 protections at rank 0. His Belch of the Gods increased the base damage from 25 to 85, is now 30 to 90 per tick, so it looks like it gets plus 5 at each rank. Jormungandr's Consuming Bellow, it gets an increased duration of the empowered attack speed buff. Used to be 1 second, is now 1.5 seconds. Submerge gets a cooldown reduction. Used to be 16 seconds at all ranks, now goes down 1 second per rank. So at max rank, it's a 12-second cooldown. Merlin's Dragonfire increased the protections, reduced per stack. It used to be 0.5% to 2.5% per tick is now 4% at all ranks. Also decrease the max stacks from 6 to 4. Result in the change, increased God-only protections reduced from 3 to 15% is now 16% at max stacks. Neith's Spirit Arrow gets a decreased cooldown from 15 seconds flat is now 15 seconds down to 13 seconds at max rank. Oleron gets an increased base power from 38 to 40, and then his Touch of Fate increases the critical strike damage from 50% to 55%. Catalyst on Serket, which is her passive, stacks will only be consumed and extra damage dealt if Serket successfully damages the gods as opposed to just hits them. Her Last Breath gets an increased power scaling from 55% to 70%. Sylvanas' basic attack damage is increased from 35 to 38, and his Verdant Growth gets an increased magical power scaling from 35% to 50%. Tiamat's Death Begets Life gets a decrease the damage mitigation from 60% to 30%, plus 5% of his magical power, capping at a total of 60% mitigation at 600 magical power. Summon Serpents decrease the number of hits it takes for minions to damage a serpent health pip from 3 to 2, and decrease the power scaling from 8% to 5% of his magical power. Summon Storm adjusted the description text to clarify that the initial damage is on the first hit of each target, not on the deploy of the ability. Also increase the initial hit damage scaling from 30% of your magical power to 40% of your magical power, and increase the tick damage scaling from 10% to 12% per tick. And then finally, Zhong Kui Expose Evil gets an increased magical power scaling per tick from 15% to 20%, which increases it from 75% to 100% total. That is going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like and hit subscribe for more updates like this. Like I said, again, I will be linking both of these patch notes in the description if you want to kind of read them more in depth yourself, and I'll see you again soon.